Hey everyone, welcome to 5 terrifying true scary stories. Real events that'll chill you to the bone. No fiction, no paranormal, just the raw truth of what people have lived through. Let's get started. Story 1 takes us to the dense, misty trails of Olympic National Park in Washington, 2017. Jake, a 32-year-old software engineer with a passion for the outdoors, decided to tackle a solo 5-day hike along the Hoh River Trail. He'd done this kind of thing before, knew how to pack light, read a topo map, and handle himself in the wild. The first day was textbook: towering cedars, the rush of the river, and a perfect campsite by a mossy clearing. He set up his tent, hung his food bag high to keep it from bears, and slept like a rock. Day 2, though, things got weird. Around noon, he checked his food cache from the night before and found it trashed. Not nibbled or clawed like a bear would do, just ripped open, contents scattered across the dirt. Oatmeal packets torn apart, protein bars unwrapped but uneaten. Odd, but he chalked it up to a curious animal, maybe a raccoon with too much time. He cleaned up, moved on, and set up camp deeper in the forest that night, making sure his food was hung even higher, tied tight with paracord. At 3 a.m., he bolted awake. Footsteps, heavy, deliberate, circling his tent. Not the erratic scuffle of a deer or the lumbering shuffle of a bear. These were measured, like someone pacing. No twigs snapped, no leaves rustled beyond the steps. His heart pounded as he gripped his pocket knife, straining to hear more. No growls, no sniffs, no animal noises at all. Just the rhythmic crunch of boots on dirt. He shouted, "Who's there?" Silence. The steps stopped cold. He didn't sleep again, sitting rigid until dawn, knife in hand. Morning light revealed nothing at first. His tent was untouched, gear intact. Then he saw them. Footprints, human, barefoot, circling his campsite in a near-perfect ring. Deep heel marks like whoever it was weighed a ton or wanted to be noticed. No trail leading in or out, just the circle. Jake's stomach dropped. He was 20 miles from the trailhead, alone, with 3 days of supplies left. He packed in a frenzy, double-checking his map, and hiked out in one grueling 12-hour push, barely stopping to drink. At the ranger station, he spilled everything. The rangers listened, faces grim. They'd had reports of someone living off-grid in the park, someone who didn't want to be found, who'd been spotted watching hikers from the trees. They searched but found no one. Jake hasn't stepped foot in a forest since, and he keeps a bat by his bed now just in case. Next, we're on the desolate stretch of Interstate 80 in Nevada, 1999, with Carla, a 45-year-old trucker hauling freight cross-country. She'd been driving rigs for 15 years, tough as nails, used to long nights and sketchy rest stops. This run was routine. Denver to Sacramento. Nothing she hadn't done 100 times. Around 2 a.m., she pulled into a rest area near Winnemucca, one of those bare-bones spots with a couple of picnic tables and a cinder-block bathroom. Hers was the only truck until she noticed another rig parked way at the edge of the lot. Lights off, no one around. She didn't think much of it. Truckers keep odd hours. She locked her cab, drew the curtains, and settled in for a quick nap before hitting the road again. Then it started. A faint scratching on her driver's side door, slow and deliberate, like someone dragging a key across the paint. She froze, thinking it might be a branch or debris caught under the truck. It stopped, and she relaxed, almost convincing herself it was nothing. Then it came again, louder, more insistent, nails raking metal. Her pulse spiked. She eased back the curtain, just a sliver, and saw him, a man, maybe 30, in ragged clothes, standing right by her door. His face was blank, eyes locked on the cab like he could see through the tinted glass. No expression, just staring. Carla's instinct screamed. She slammed the horn, a deafening blast that echoed across the empty lot. The guy stumbled back, then sprinted into the darkness beyond the sodium lights. She grabbed her CB radio, hands shaking, and called for any truckers nearby. No answer. She sat there, engine idling, headlights on, until dawn broke. When she finally climbed down, she found scratches etched into her door. Random, jagged lines, no pattern. She drove straight to a state trooper station to report it. The cops searched the area, found nothing but tire tracks from a car that didn't match any registered vehicle. The other trucker, who'd been parked across the lot, told police he'd seen a drifter hanging around earlier, muttering to himself, carrying a backpack stuffed with who knows what. Carla kept driving for years after, but she never stopped at that rest area again. She installed a second deadbolt on her cab door and started carrying a tire iron under her seat. Third story, we're in Ohio, 2011, with Ryan, a 20-year-old sophomore working the graveyard shift at a 24-hour diner off a quiet highway. The place was a relic. Greasy spoons, flickering neon sign, the kind of spot truckers and insomniacs kept alive. Ryan took the job for extra cash, figuring he could study during the dead hours between 2 and 5 a.m. Most nights, it was just him, the cook, and maybe a handful of regulars. One guy stood out, older, maybe 50, always in a faded flannel. Came in every few nights for coffee, black, no sugar. Never talked much, just read the paper and left a decent tip. Ryan called him Flannel Guy in his head. This night, though, Flannel Guy was off. He showed up at 3:45 a.m., sat in his usual booth, but he was fidgety, tapping his mug, glancing at Ryan every few seconds. Ryan brushed it off. Maybe the guy was just wired. He took the order, same as always, but Flannel Guy's hands were trembling, and his eyes kept darting to the diner's back door, the one leading to the alley. Ryan served the coffee, made small talk, got nothing but a grunt. When it was time to pay, Flannel Guy leaned in close, too close, and muttered, "You should lock the back door tonight, kid." His voice was low, almost a growl. Ryan laughed nervously, thinking it was a weird joke, but the guy's face didn't crack. He paid and left. No tip this time. Uneasy, Ryan checked the back door. It was wide open, swinging on its hinges. He was sure he'd locked it at the start of his shift. Manager's orders, every night. His skin prickled as he slammed it shut, threw the deadbolt, and wedged a chair under the handle for good measure. He told the cook, who just shrugged and said kids always forgot to lock up. Ryan didn't buy it. He spent the rest of the shift jumping at every noise, checking the windows, expecting Flannel Guy to be standing there. Nothing happened, but he called his boss the next morning, told him about the door. That afternoon, cops showed up. Turns out there'd been a string of break-ins in the area, houses, a gas station, all within a mile of the diner. One homeowner said he saw a guy in a flannel shirt scoping out his place the night before. Ryan described Flannel Guy to the police, down to the scuffed boots and the way he stared. They never caught him, but Ryan quit a week later. He couldn't shake the feeling that Flannel Guy knew something about that open door, maybe even planned it. Fourth, we're in a small-town emergency room in Texas, 2005, with Emily, a 29-year-old nurse who'd seen her share of chaos, car wrecks, bar fights, the usual rural ER fare. This was a quiet Tuesday night, just her at the intake desk and a skeleton crew in back. Around 11 p.m., a man walked in, mid-40s, wearing a stained hoodie and jeans that looked like they hadn't been washed in weeks. He clutched his chest, said he had pain, needed to see a doctor. Emily followed protocol, name, symptoms, insurance. He was vague, called himself John, no last name, said the pain came and went. His eyes kept scanning the room, not like he was nervous, more like he was casing it. Emily's gut twisted, but she buzzed him through to triage, staying calm. As he passed her desk, she caught a whiff of gasoline, sharp and unmistakable. Her mind raced. Spilled fuel from a car? A job at a pump? But his hands were in his pockets, and he wouldn't meet her eyes. She asked him to sit, said a nurse would be right there, then slipped her hand under the desk and hit the silent panic button. She'd never used it before, but something about this guy screamed wrong. She kept him talking, asking about his pain, his day, anything to stall. He gave short answers, kept shifting in his seat, one hand still buried in his pocket. 2 minutes later, security burst in. 2 guards, one with a taser drawn. The guy froze, then tried to bolt. They tackled him in the hallway. When they searched him, they found a Zippo lighter, a pocket knife, and a rag soaked in gas. He'd planned to set the ER on fire, maybe worse. Cops later said he'd been fired from a nearby garage, had a grudge against the hospital for reasons no one could pin down. Emily gave her statement, went home, and cried for hours. She stayed in nursing but moved to a bigger hospital with better security. She still checks patient IDs twice and never ignores a gut feeling. Last story, 2020, suburban Chicago, with Mike, a 27-year-old delivery driver for a major courier service. COVID had deliveries booming, and Mike was pulling 12-hour shifts, dropping packages from dawn to dusk. This was a late run, around 9 p.m., in a cookie-cutter neighborhood. Manicured lawns, porch lights, the works. He pulled up to a 2-story house, no different from the others, and grabbed a small box from his van. As he set it by the door, he heard a scream from inside. Sharp, female, cut off like someone clamped a hand over a mouth. Mike froze, package still in hand. He waited, listening, but it was dead quiet now, just the hum of his van's engine. He knocked, called out, "Delivery!" No answer. His first thought was to leave. Drivers aren't supposed to get involved. But the scream stuck with him, replaying in his head. He knocked again, harder. Still nothing. He pulled out his phone, dialed 911, and told the dispatcher what he'd heard, giving the address. While he waited, he circled the house, staying on the sidewalk, looking for anything. Open windows, shadows moving. The place looked normal. Curtains drawn, lights on upstairs. Cops arrived in under 10 minutes, 2 squad cars, no sirens. Mike explained again, feeling a little stupid now that the house was so still. The officers knocked, got no response, then forced the door. Mike stayed by his van, watching. Minutes later, they came out with a woman, maybe 30, shaken, but walking. Then they brought out a guy in cuffs, head down, not fighting. Paramedics showed up, checked the woman. She had bruises but was okay. Mike overheard the cops. Domestic call, the guy had snapped. Things got violent. Mike's dash cam caught the husband trying to slip out the back door while the police were up front. The footage helped nail the guy in court. Aggravated assault, plus a restraining order violation. Mike got a thank you from the woman's family, but he doesn't talk about it much. He switched to daytime routes after that, says the dark makes him hear that scream all over again.